here. And let's go. Right, standing by. Here we go. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Sonic Talk. Today is episode 270 and today is special because we've just had a really long bank holiday weekend and it's taken me an awfully long time to get it back together again and start working. I have been enjoying the French Open tennis, which is kind of a really tenuous link to our first guest, who is also based, I'm guessing you're based in Paris. This is Jerome Noel from OHMSTUDIO, not OHMSTUDIO there. And the reason he's with us is because OHMSTUDIO is now live. We have covered this in the past, and it's been a sort of a long labour of love project, and Jerome is there with whiteboard in the background, so he's obviously making heady progress. There's lots of ticks and things listed there, so I'm guessing things are working, everything's going very fast. Jerome, I'm just wondering, could you possibly tilt your Mac forward a little bit just to give your head further up the screen, if that's possible? That's it. That's perfect. That's it. That makes us look like we're about the same height. That's great. Okay. Anyway, Jerome, thank you very much for joining us. I realise you must be very busy now that you've actually launched it. There's kind of data flying about all over the place and people saying, I must have this. Presumably.
Yeah, exactly. This doesn't work. I want this feature. So, yeah, all the time.
Excellent. Right. And I'm going to go and join Dave Spears from GeForce Software also. Well, at least that's the idea. There we go. There's Dave. Dave Spears, GeForceSoftware.com, also fresh from a launch. Of course, that was, well, not quite fresh from a launch, approaching a launch. We spoke about this last week, the Reason Rack extensions, and presumably a number of other things that are filling your inbox, as it were. That sounds a bit dubious, doesn't it, saying it like that? How are you, Dave?
I'm all right. No, I'm not all right, actually. I'm miserable as sin today. It's almost like we're punished for this kind of long weekend thing. So when we returned to work today, it was just like, right, avalanche of stuff. And it was like, I don't know, I'm in Pro Tools hell at the minute, and it doesn't look likely to go away in the immediate future.
I am sorry to hear that.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know if there's anything I can do, apart from maybe suggest that you try the OHMSTUDIO.
Yes,
instead.
Yeah, we want one host. That's all we want from now on.
Yes, well, we're going to talk to Jerome, hopefully at length, or at least at some length, about OHMSTUDIO. I've had a chance to check it out. In fact, there's a session live at the moment. But first, we're going to say hi to Rich Hilton from Hiltonius. There we are, Rich. Rich is over there in Connecticut, where he mans the controls for Nile Rodgers Private Studios, and is probably only back for a very short period, perhaps to wash his smalls before heading off on tour on the disco extravaganza that is Chic this summer, because you're out of the country an awful lot, all right?
Yeah, we're going to be gone a lot, and we leave tomorrow to go to Manchester. And after Manchester, we go up to Loch Ness to play for dear old Nessie.
Oh, yes. That was my classic title, I think, Loch Ness Fudge, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Seemed to go down very well, that one.
I'm hoping she'll wave her tail in the air like she just don't care.
She's got to. She's got to be a disco monster.
I hope so.
Actually, I'll tell you what, there was some celebrations, as those of you perhaps who aren't based in the UK might have noticed, or may not have noticed, that we've had the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, and there's been much festivity over the weekend and what have you. Unfortunately, it rained really heavily through most of it, but I did manage to spend an hour or two in a field yesterday in the park in the UK and saw a few bands. One band were a disco tribute band, and they played quite a lot of Chic and Sister Sledge and that stuff, and they were really good, actually. It was impressive, good sound system. But it was finished with the legendary Bjorn Again, who are the ABBA tribute band, who were also very good. Although I think they've been doing it 20 years, and they sort of kept going into other musicals. So they were doing SOS, which is the classic, and they just threw Message in a Bottle halfway through it, because obviously they're getting so sick of playing the same riffs all the time. And then there was another one where they just had I think it was Benny or Bjorn, one of the two, just suddenly put on a massive furry hat and a pair of glasses and started rapping. And I'm guessing, they're just looking for and the bass player was incredibly jazzy at times. I was thinking, hold on, that doesn't sound much like the ABBA bass line I remember. But anyway, it was really good fun and great fun. And I want to thank you for all joining us. We'll go back to Jerome now, because obviously OHMSTUDIO, we've talked about it before. What, just in a sort of short paragraph, how would you describe what OHMSTUDIO is?
Yeah, you asked me a short description.
Yes.
Well, it's a host like you would like, a bit like Live or Logic or things like that. It's a real host that runs on your computer with that hosts plugins, and so you can make music just like those hosts. The only difference is that you can invite people so that they can play and act on the sequence at the same time as you do. They can record their voice, their guitar, their bass at the same time.
So it can work. I've got. Here's one I prepared earlier. I've got a screen here of the DAW. This is the sort of DAW main edit window. There's some tracks here. Some tracks that have been created. A couple of them have been just virtual instruments. I recorded a bit of audio, and I've frozen tracks as well. And I've shared this with a few people. We've got. If I load it up here, I've shared it with people in the chat room as well as. Let's see if I can make this. Up there, we've got Failed Muso, who asked to join. We've got Halo, which is you. We've got Hiltonius, who's Rich. Mysterion, I'm guessing, which is Dave, and there's me, and we all can access this and download it. So what I'm curious to know is, obviously, as I'm generating all this data, it's kind of, it struck me as it is kind of almost like a Dropbox kind of vibe, where you have a project is a folder, and any changes you made to the document or record, it just uploads to the communal file sharing point. Is that a kind of oversimplistic way of looking at it, or is that pretty much sum it up?
It's a bit simplistic, because if you share the same documents on Dropbox and two people are editing it, one of the two versions will always override the other. Here you can have like conflict handlings, things like that. Let's say you could act exactly at the same time on different parts of the song, and it would just work. So that's the first thing. And the other thing is that we handle the audio files, because obviously audio files are the biggest data that we need to share.
Sure.
So we handle them gracefully, so that when you record yourself or when you add samples to your session, it just goes very fast to the others.
Are you compressing the audio, or are you uploading it natively? There must be some trick to it, because obviously if I add a load of audio, it's going to take a while to go up otherwise, right?
Yeah, in fact, it's a bit like, JPEGs on websites. We encode it at a very low rate at first, so that everybody can get it very fast, right. And then at a higher rate, and then at a full quality.
Okay, so you can get working right away, and it will just pull it down as and when in the background, right?
Exactly. So that if you have, let's say, the quality is good enough so that if you have compressors or things like that, it will still sound, correctly. The envelope followers will still work correctly and things like that. So you will have very quickly a good idea of what's happening.
So one thing I wanted to ask was, what was the motivation? Because as I understand, this has been a sort of long-term project for your company, right? And it's been something that's taken a lot of you've got your plugins, you've got your other things, but has this been kind of the end game for what you've been wanting to do?
Yeah, it was from the first day. It was written designing the OHMSTUDIO. It was written on the title of our web page. So that was the recurrent idea we had for long years. So it took time, and the idea that we wanted to stay, independent. So we started by making plugins to get a name and a bit of income, and then we moved on to the OHMSTUDIO.
Okay. And just quickly, I didn't actually have time to check this. Does it just use audio units, or can it use VSTs? It doesn't matter what kind of format the plugin are?
No, right now we choose to just support VST, because the OHMSTUDIO is on Mac and PC, and
right.
We won't have any audio units on PC, obviously.
No.
So the VST seemed to be the good choice.
And the other question I was asking, because obviously I'm, coming to this, if you have any kind of musical knowledge whatsoever, or working in a compositional environment, you've kind of pretty much got your DAW choice sorted. Why did you decide to build the DAW as well as the collaborative environment? Why not just work on the collaborative environment? Because now you're getting stuck into that whole world of, but I need this on this key command and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, the thing is that we had a thought about it. So we tried to find out how we would do that. And, it's already been done. There's been the Rocket Network in the past that has been incorporated in Cubase and Pro Tools. And it's pretty not working anymore. So the thing is that we didn't find a solution. How could we have solutions that would integrate easily in any DAW? Is not an easy problem.
So, I mean, you had to write the entire thing to make sure that it would work as you wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there any way that one can integrate your existing projects and kind of go, well, actually, I've got my main compositional environment where everything's set up just so, and I have everything, maybe I've got some audio units, maybe I've got some controllers set up, and I want to work in that. I mean, is there a workflow that allows you easily to kind of go, well, I'll tell you what, we'll take these parts and put them in here, and then somebody else can collaborate with me on that? I mean, is there a...
Well, it's not easy for now, but because you have to export your tracks and put them back into OHMSTUDIO, which obviously is not easy. But we probably add some rewriter support at one point so that you can, connect your current host to the OHMSTUDIO, hit record, and have everything go into the OHMSTUDIO, which would probably ease the process.
Ah, I see. That's interesting. Okay, so... I mean, some other questions were, I mean, are there, I noticed there was some mention of the Amazon kind of back end for backup and stuff. Are you using that infrastructure to kind of host the data and look after it in terms of that sense? Yeah,
exactly. We use Amazon services for that. So we have a high reliability, that data don't go away easily. And the server also is on Amazon, so it's
easy to manage that. I mean, we use that kind of stuff too. I mean, I know perhaps Rich, there's something that you might be interested in, of course, which is just security. Because I mean, it's okay for me just noodling in my pants on a Sunday afternoon, as it were. But I mean, if I'm working with some, I want to use as a serious collaborative tool, and I've maybe got a vocal that has not been kind of perfectified for, and I don't want that out there. I mean, how is the security side of things working?
Well, we have, encryption so that you cannot just sniff the packets easily. But for the audio in itself, it's stored on Amazon, which handles the security. And the samples are not stored as is. They are stored in little chunks of data, a lot of different chunks. So if you don't know how to put all those chunks together to make the actual sample, it's not going to be easy. We have millions and millions of...
Oh, right, okay, because I see what you mean. It's almost like a fragmented hard drive that only you need to know where all the bits are, otherwise it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Has anybody else, Rich, have you had a chance to poke around in this, or are you pretty much just sort of fresh to it?
Well, I poked around in it this morning, and I poked around in it a little bit the last time we called it up as a topic, which was something like 2 years ago.
Yeah, maybe a little while.
It looked like fun to me today. I didn't get to spend more than like 10 minutes with it. I saw that it was one of our topics. I saw a download link. I pulled it down, installed it, and just made sure I could get MIDI into it. And I imported some piece of audio and recorded a little MIDI doodle over it. And I just wanted to make sure that the foundation of it worked and that I could understand it quickly. And for the most part, I could. Did it scan my audio units folder when it launched?
Just your VST folders.
Are you sure?
Oh,
I think it scanned my audio units folder. I think I watched it scan my audio units folder.
That would surprise me.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't care if it did, but I expected that the audio units would work. But it's fine. I don't care. It's working. The plugin, Dave's wonderful synthesizer, ran beautifully in it, and I pulled down a compressor and played around with that. I just did a little bit of stuff to make sure that it sort of made sense in the way it works, and most of it came to me pretty quickly. So it was pretty intuitive. It sort of looks a little like Reaper on the interface end, if I may say, which I think is a good thing, because the whole interface issue is standardizing to some extent anyway. Everybody's looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to get as much as possible onto one screen in different places on the screen. And it all made sense to me very easily, and I thought it looked like a really cool thing. I was impressed.
That's a good, yeah.
Sorry, one thing I mean, you can work offline. You don't have to be online necessarily to just do some work, or do you to be able to sign in? How does that work? Because that's just a question that came up from Wildman. I don't like the idea of working online in the chat room.
Yeah, it's questions that comes sometimes to our servers or on the forum. For now, you have to be online.
Okay.
We probably can add some offline mode later on, but we have a lot of mathematical complexities that occur when we have to synchronize everything from the offline to the online. So probably what we'll do is add a way for you to work offline and then push it online. And then it will be only online.
It seems to be one of those things that's actually quite difficult to achieve, because I found just perhaps even in using the Google Docs, I want to be able to edit that stuff offline, and it seems to be even a company of that magnitude don't seem to be able to get that right, and it's incredibly frustrating because for some reason at work my connectivity is screwy with Google Docs, so I now have to do everything in text files and upload them when I get home, which is a bit irritating. But I mean, so what is the biggest challenge, or what has been the biggest challenge to getting it to this point?
That's a good question. We have, in fact, it's a sum of a lot of different problems that we had to solve. For example, I think one of the biggest one is, which is not totally solved, I'm afraid it's going to take us some time, is how to make working different plugins that were created in, having no idea that it could be hosted in a collaborative environment. How can we make them work together correctly? For example, let's say I have Mini-Monster version 2, and you have Mini-Monster version 2.3. And if they are not totally compatible, we may have some issues that arise that are outside of our reach. So that's the kind of problem we have.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like something that's kind of out of your control to a degree, isn't it? I mean, have you considered the possibility of maybe substituting? So if I've got like a Moogie bass on, say, Mini-Monster, and the person that I'm working with doesn't have that but has something else that is a synth, can they substitute that plugin and kind of carry on editing the MIDI?
What they could do is add another track and copy the MIDI and then edit. But right now we don't manage like two different plugins at the same place. Right,
I see. That would make sense. So, I mean, in that sense, there's things like, just basic operational stuff with DAWs as track counts get bigger, hiding, grouping, foldering, all that kind of stuff. Is that coming on stream, or can that already be done?
Yeah, we have this partially. We don't have, like, for example, track folding yet. What we think is that it has been a big challenge to have it this way. So we had tons of features at the beginning when we started conceiving the software. We had tons of features in mind. It was just incredible. So what we started at one point, say, okay, now we have to take, like, let's say 10% of them, and let's choose the most important and put them first. So that's what we did, and now we are going to listen to the community and add the feature that people want, see what are the features that are most wanted, and start by them.
Interesting. And I guess the next obvious question is, so where are you going to make money on this then? What's the sort of, how does it generate revenue for OHMForce?
It won't be free. Right now it's free because it's an open beta. But what will very probably happen is that will be a subscription model. So it's going to be subscription-based. You have to pay a little fee each month to be able to use the OHMSTUDIO.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Right, and so the key is if you get loads of people writing songs in it now, then when they want to come back and maybe collaborate, then that would be the time. It's that sort of freemium model. That makes sense.
yeah, you can. The users will be able to invite other people who are not yet subscribers and work with them.
It's like it's crack for the door world.
Yeah.
Door crack. Yeah, that's an interesting headline, possibly. It sounds like things are moving on. And what's been the overriding kind of feedback from this first release phase? Because obviously you've been in beta for a while. I mean, you didn't just kind of launch it straight from cold. So what's been the thing that's surprised you most about it now being public?
I think it was the lack of negative comments. I mean, we have some people that don't like this, don't like that, or would have rather have this feature instead of this one. But when you've been developing your product for a long time like this, you're not really very sure. Maybe you just ask yourself, did I make things right? And so we were very afraid to have tons of negative comments and say this is just a toy and everything. And so yeah, of course we were anxious to know how it would be received, and so far so good. I mean, the response is pretty nice. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, from what I've seen, I mean, I'm not a patient person, but I have managed to create something today, just sort of dipping in and out, and figure out how to invite people. I don't know if anybody. How do I know if anybody's been working on my track? I mean, what do I? Because I've got. If I come back to my main screen here, this is what I've got. I've shared it with. If I just drag this part up here, then you should be able to see the people who are collaborating. Just here. How do I know when they've done something?
Well, you know what they're doing right now. For example, let's say I'm selecting something. You should see. Yeah.
That's you, is it?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So now if you double click on this part, you see it's going to grow, or it should.
Hold on a second. It might be because I need to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see that maybe I can select this part and move it. You can see that I'm moving things around here.
Right.
Well, this is just MIDI, but
yeah.
So we don't have a very.
But that's really cool, because basically, if you've got, I mean, if you're listening to that and you've got a groove going, is there any way that we can actually sync playback? So, for instance, if you're messing with the groove, which is obviously a key aspect to a lot of what's going on, I can see the pattern. You're going, well, maybe if I move this hi-hat here, and you can sort of say, no, don't do that. Try, is there an aspect of that kind of real-time collaborative stuff, or is it not quite so much so?
No, I think it could happen. I mean, you can have. You could loop a part and have me work on this very part and just make me comments, of course. So yeah, it works in real time for in that matter.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think that could be kind of the idea of that as real time as possible. So you can it's almost like you're jamming, or at least kind of working on something to that degree. That's very interesting.
I think that there are many way to use this. For example, you could make for education. For example, you could make sessions for how do I mix, how do I equalize the bass, or how do I do this kind of thing. You could be a teacher, for example, or you could sell. For example, let's say you make a song and you have this little, you don't know how to play bass, so you put a synthesizer there, and then you would be able to find someone who plays bass, who would record in real time, and you would be able to say, no, I don't like, maybe change your sound, or do it again. You would be able to see what he's doing in real time. He has his studio at home. You don't have to make him go to your own studio.
That's yeah. I could see that all of the. I mean, as with all of these kind of concepts, it's if it can deliver on all of these levels, then you're onto something really special here. But I mean, just seeing you editing my MIDI data, that's pretty mind blowing in itself. That's kind of like, okay, so I could get it could just as easily be you, Dave, who's doing that.
Well, I am.
You are, Rich. You are.
But I can't seem to change the pitch, which is interesting.
Oh, really? That's because I don't trust you. No, I don't know.
I'm just kidding. But No, I can change the positioning in time. And it says this, by the way. There's a pull down right next to it that says what you can do, I guess.
Okay. If it's gone to notes, let's have a look.
Yeah, that's
I'm on that
because,
same I'm in that same pattern we just zoomed in on.
Okay.
yeah, I think, yeah, that's because it's MIDI for now. The MIDI editing are pretty basic.
Okay, very good. So it's
Yeah, but-
it's either intentional or known then.
It's not well, it's intentional. Yeah, we know it's basic. We're gonna.
No, I
add,
mean
like,
as far as the ability of the remote person. In other words, could Nick change the note now? Is it because it's hosted in his
no, I
world?
think he just did, what
No,
you
I
see here
can't.
are
I
just-
can't change the note data.
Yeah, those are just like MIDI control change, things like that.
So I'm looking. So if I flip to notes,
No, but I mean, I
Let's
just
say-
want to change the pitch. I just want to grab one and change
Yeah, I
it.
think that's because there is no note on this pattern. I can add some though. Look,
it might be.
here.
Oh, I
just added
see. I see. I'm not looking at notes.
Okay. Hold on. I've got to switch that. So if we switch to there, so can you just that note there? If I move it, then you can move it again.
Yeah,
Indeed.
Wow. Okay, right now I understand. That's just a user error on my part. Right. That's it. Yeah. As your head says in the chat room, you could set permissions for pitch and controller editing and what.
Thank you. Yeah, right. No, it's funny that and the size of the track is changing and stuff. It's very cool.
Wow, that is interesting.
yeah.
So, is there any way? I mean, I'm guessing there could be other possibilities, like you say, for the education. I mean, the thought of actually being able to almost broadcast this session one to many, does that work? Is there a limitation to the amount of people who can view a session, or?
Yeah, in fact, there is a feature that we have not enabled yet, but which is there in the software. We can have also spectators, people who can see what you're doing but cannot change. That's one thing. So you can, for example, make I don't know, like a public session, create a composition in live, and have people watching what you're doing. As of the number of people you can have at the same time, programmatically we set it up to 4,000. But we've never
Jesus,
tested it yet.
composing
So
by committee never works, though, does it? I mean, as we all know, yeah.
it can mean also maybe like 3,900 spectators. You know.
Is there a way to bring the toolbar up on a key like Control or something? Like what is it? Cubase and Logic both do this. In other words, so that I don't have to go from eraser to pencil to scissor to all of that.
Use a command key.
Command key. Thank you very much.
You're gonna switch between.
So you get one, and then you get your alt.
I'm not getting that.
Well, if you select one,
If I select it first.
If you select the arrow and then press the command key, normally you should switch between the pen.
Oh, if I have the. Oh, you know what's interesting? No, it
doesn't work.
well, it's working for me, but it's not bringing up. What it does is you've got a default tool, and then you've got a command tool. So if I go, my default tool is the pointer. Then if I want maybe a musical note to be the second one, I press command and then that. So now, if I press command, it's flipping between the two, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of like the same thing that you get in. Certainly, that's familiar to Logic users because you have whatever the tool is now. But I see what you're saying. You want the toolbar just to pop up so you can quickly change that.
Yeah, it's a paradigm that's used in a lot of software. In DAWs, in Celemoni's Melodyne, it's used. Some key brings up that toolbar, and you can select from it right wherever your mouse pointer is locally on the grid. Huh?
That's another request. We can add that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very. I was just curious if it existed. Now I'm trying to edit, and I'm going, okay, so how can I do this?
So I'm guessing the only thing that is going to be an issue is, as we are demonstrating, I mean, Rich is a Pro Tools guy, so he has certain standards and normalities that he would use. I'm using Sony Vegas and Reaper and Logic, so I have certain conformities that I would want to adhere to. I mean, are you thinking of adding the possibility of, the kind of default, setting the key commands and preferences on a client basis, so I can just kind of create an XML file that says, well, I want this key to do this, I want this to do that, and all that. I mean, that's fairly standard stuff, right?
Yeah, we're going to add, but for now it's not there, but we're going to add like configurable shortcuts and default shortcuts mapping for standard host so that it's the closest as possible. That's one of the design goal we have. We want people who come from very different DAWs to be comfortable as far as possible, because of course it won't be their DAW, but as far as possible to feel easy with the software.
No, but it's great because if I'm on the road with the band, say, and one of us is working on something here, and you go, hey, do you want to take a listen to this and see if they've got an idea for it? And you can just, we could be in separate hotel rooms working on the same piece of, it's very cool in a way. I really like the possibilities it opens up. And no, I'm not quite sure how, if I get a result I really like, then I'm going to export it into some world that I normally work in. Like if I want to mix it back at my studio.
Well, I can show you that. I can show you that because here there's an export function, and you can export the master, or you can export to disk, which would be you can have individual tracks.
Exactly.
So it'll do like a file freeze track.
Yeah, you can do your stems, I guess, or per track basis. So rather than stems, it's not done on the outputs.
Yeah,
and also the guys from Avid have been very nice with us, and they gave us access to their export SDK. So we probably add a feature to directly export as a Pro Tools session.
Wow. That would be a very big selling point for you, not even just to me, but in general, because there's such a huge community of people who like to work that way, that to think that this is some sort of remote editing environment that will transfer easily to it, it would be great.
Yeah.
But in any case, I think it's fun. The idea of being able to collaborate, like I say, I'm going to spend a bunch of the summer on the road. I might get I'm going to pop this on my laptop and see if I can make some fun with some band members.
Make sure you get a roaming data plan that you can afford.
Is Mark here?
Oh, no, he's not. Sorry, that's the wrong one. That was you, Rich, but only the wrong button. That just goes to show that I'm having a technology overload today. I've learnt a new DAW, and I'm running a multitasking show today as well. So I don't know, what can I say? I'm just not great at everything. What I should say is probably it's about time for an ad from our sponsor, just because that's what we do at about this point. So I'm going to hit the button there and draw your attention to the wonderful world of Yamaha O1V96i, which is the new digital mixer from Yamaha. I mean, perhaps not, brand spanking new. It's been out a few months now. We've just had one in for review, in fact, which I have given a good run through, and I really did enjoy it. I mean, I'm a big fan of Yamaha mixers, so there's no surprise there. But so I'm already familiar with the working methodology. But I did think that the mic amp sounded really good. But I'll just give you a rundown of the bullet points of what this thing has got to offer. We've got 16 in, 16 out USB as standard, and that's 24-bit 96K streams in and out that you can patch in and out to channels, to your computer, to your DAW, insert points, direct ins and outs, auxiliary sends, all sorts of things. So lots of patchability there. As I said, refined studio quality head amps. I was running a ribbon mic, 6 plus 60 dB of gain, full gain, and plus another 10 dB on the compressor. No noise. And I was really surprised at that, because usually there's a lot of hiss going on with other mic amps in my arsenal, shall we say. 40 mixing channels, 32 mono, 4 stereo, 16 analog, 8 digital inputs. There's also ADAT IO as standard, as well as an additional slot for one of the many YJD AI cards that you can get from Yamaha for third-party connectivity. 100mm motorized faders. I personally do like a motorized fader. It makes things a lot clearer to me. 4 effects simultaneously. These are the VCM effects that you can use as inserts or your standard reverbs and delays and modulation, but they're also kind of stump boxes, compression, some really nice EQs as well. Steinberg Cubase AI included. Each mono channel has 4-band EQ, compressor and gate. Studio Manager version 2 support, which is pretty cool because that allows you to get to throw up a kind of large GUI environment for editing on your host computer. You can link 2 of them together if 40 channels isn't enough, so you could have a massive system if that was what you so design. I do recommend you check one out, actually, the O1V96i in any of the Pulse stores in the UK, or if you're in one of the larger stores in the US, they should have one in there. Maybe plug a mic in, record some stuff to USB, take it home, have a listen, see what you think of it. It's pretty impressive, I must say. I'm going to switch back to my MacBook now, because as I was doing that, I was trying to read the copy, and then there was stuff moving around on my on my screen there, which was kind of fun. I'm going to come to you, Dave Spears, now, because you haven't said much, and I'm guessing you've probably known a lot, because you work with these guys for a while, so you've been aware of what it has to offer. I mean, and have you finished my mix yet?
Yes and no.
Have you started?
In that order. No, obviously we've worked very closely with Overforce for years and years, and I've always known that this was their kind of raison d'etre, which is why it's brilliant for it to finally kind of be out there. What I thought was really fascinating, and I should say, actually, it does come with Mini Monster and Oddity, so
yes,
it does make exceptional good value.
So is that full working version?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Now,
wow.
What I found really, really fascinating about this was because it was devised so many years ago, and we've been at shows together where some of the homies have been actually programming in the back of the car while we've been driving to a bar and places like that, because this has been their main mission in life. What was really fascinating from my perspective was how it's evolved into what it is today. And when I talk about that, what I mean is when we started, this whole industry was in such a kind of infant state that the ideas were thick and fast, as you could do anything you wanted, but it was the way in which it had to be done, which is what slowly evolved over the years. And that for me was fascinating, from seeing very early beta versions in the office, or sorry, alpha versions probably in the office at Overforce, to what I see now. And this is really, really elegant, and it's kind of users have demanded we work in certain ways, and that certain monikers are used for certain functions, for example. And for me, that process has been what's probably the most fascinating.
Well, there's been a lot of change in, like I say, in UI and just the normalization of certain key commands and tool tips and all of that kind of stuff that has been adopted across doors, that you've probably has probably been helpful in as much as also being irritating, because you've had to redesign for it, I suppose. So you've kind of benefited, and presumably it's caused more work for you at the same time, right, Jerome?
Yeah, in fact, when we started with the alpha version, what we did was to ask some beta testers to record a screencast of what they were doing, and it was awful for us, very frustrating, because it was like, okay, I can't do anything. It was very like they were just going in there and just doing nothing, trying to figure out how it was working. So it's been very helpful for us, to see people actually trying the stuff, and with all their background, and what they were used to do, and try to change things so that when they first arrive there, they are more and more able, to do things.
Yeah.
So it was a good challenge. However, there are some things that we have decided to take the risk that we should change them. For example, I think there is still some work, but it's starting to work fine. It's like the automation concept. When you start to automate things, that's one thing that I've always frustrated me, is that when you start to automate things in a song, usually it's over. You cannot really edit easily the rest of the song, because stuff around, it doesn't work. So what we did here is that we put the automation in patterns, just like the notes, so that you can, like what I'm doing right now, here I just added an automation pattern just below here. So I'm automating the filter cutoff of the Mini Monster. And now I can just, if I want, I can loop it,
Wow, this is mind-boggling. Like, this is like you're screencasting. I'm screencasting your tuition via my computer while you're doing it on yours. This is the thing that I'm kind of... Exactly. All sorts of possibilities here.
So here I just decided that I needed this kind of automation, and I can just... It's a different lengths, different
Ah,
lengths.
yeah. So they could be separate from the notes. They don't have.
Yeah.
But
But
you could also lock them together. Have you got grouping or what have you going on in this as well?
Well, we can look, for example, let's say I'm going to add another one here. Let's say this one. So what you can do here, you can select this point and move them together. I don't know if you see it when I'm doing it. I'm changing 2 points at the same time, but I can also select some notes, and I can move the notes and the automation points at the same time.
Wow. Okay.
And the filter in here is being controlled by the changes you're making in real time, which is pretty amazing.
Are you playing back at the moment?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm watching my filter dancing to the tune that he's drawing on the screen. You know what I mean? It's remarkable.
Yeah, and also you can of course add automation to a normal note pattern, like this. You can add automation to, you can, in any pattern, you can add notes and automation. So it's as you wish, you can do it. So we feel that it's more, probably more handy to handle the automation this way, because when you start to reorganize your song, you just move all your elements, and among those elements are pieces of automation. So it's just much more handy than having all this automation track, and when you start automating things, it automates all the track at once. So that's the kind of thing that we change.
That's very cool.
Very good.
Ed asks in the chat room, can you get Bezier curves between automation points?
Can you get? No, not yet. Well, in fact, the engine supports it, but the editor does not yet.
But I mean, a lot of the things that you're talking about are kind of points of finesse. I mean, it just depends on how many people you've got available to actually work on this stuff and implement them. I mean, what's the kind of timetable for rolling out? Have you got kind of a frequency that you're trying to say, right, in 2 weeks' time or however? I mean, what kind of granularity are we talking here?
Yeah, that's about it. We would like to make a new version every 2 weeks and add some stability and some bug fix and some new features, obvious about at this rate, about every 2 weeks, make change.
I have an operational question for you. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to change the pre-roll without opening the record preferences and going to the record page?
Without, you mean?
Yes, can you access that directly from the main page anywhere?
I don't think so. Yeah,
because that is something operationally that people do a lot is turn the pre-roll on and off and change the value, and to have to go a menu deep and select a tab in order to go there would slow down my workflow in a way that if you can find a place to put it where I can see it all the time, it would be helpful.
In fact, there are other things that will slow your progress. For example, right now we don't have yet the loop recording.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's another problem. So
okay. Yeah, but I can work around that. I can work around that. I worked around that for 2 decades. I can work around that. But being able to switch the pre-roll on and off quickly, so that when I'm doing things, I can so I don't have to listen to a 2-measure count in every time I want to play it back.
In fact, you can turn the pre-roll on and off easily. It's a little button on the top left of the.
That's what I meant.
But you cannot change the value of the pre-roll easily.
If I may illustrate, is that this little thing here, this button here, next to the edit window?
Where's that, Nick? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Exactly.
Next to the edit button, top left, underneath the record button.
Oh, exactly.
The one with the arrow pointing at the
the
golf flag.
Yeah, there we go. I see. I've got that.
Okay, cool. My other question was, it's great that you provide the synthesizer instruments. Do you provide any kind of rhythm instrument?
Yeah, that's the thing that I was thinking. I haven't got any drums. Any drums?
A rudimentary drum machine or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. In fact, we would have loved to provide it at the beginning, but unfortunately, we didn't have the time to.
I understand, and I don't mean to be demanding. I'm really just asking what state you're at.
That's totally sensible. I mean,
but all of these things.
Yeah, you give them a couple of good synths and a simple drum machine, and that way they can make,
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that insofar as, you've done something with the GeForce guys, there's no reason at all why you couldn't be able to sort of do deals with people. It's like, okay, well, if we put your plugin into this environment, if you give us a working, then, it's like a kind of a free sales vehicle, isn't it, to a degree? I mean, it's kind of, it makes perfect sense. So you're in a very good position to make those kind of alliances and have that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah. In fact, we are aware that we need some more content that people. In fact, it's also a benefit for us because the more people are using the same plugins, the easier it is to collaborate. Because if you use a synth I don't have, you will have to freeze your tracks all the time, so it's not very handy. So we have, we definitely do that. Add some content, drum machines. Probably a sampler that's going to use our sample mechanism because, one of the things that wouldn't work in collaboration is let's say you have a sampler that uses some samples on your hard drive. If you have someone else on another machine, his own version of the sampler won't know how to find the samples unless it's at the exact same position. So we need to have some samplers and sample-based machines that use our own sample system.
I'm guessing the hard part of this really is to know which path to take through these requests that will sort of satisfy the most number of people. I mean, I really do not envy you that task. I mean, that's got to be the hardest part of it. I mean, I can see, as we're kind of going, oh, you could do this, you could do that. It's like you're going, oh my. It's what I do when people say, yeah, can we just redesign the website? And I'm just thinking, yes, we can, but it means that I'll have, you can see the kind of cogs whirring. So I mean, how do you decide that path? I mean, if we all just say the same things really loudly and start shouting, are you likely to respond to us more quickly than?
Yes, that's possible. I mean, what we do is that we note everything that the user say and put it in the table, and then we put notes to them so it can change over time. You can put some feature up, others down, and then when we decide what we're going to do in the next 2 weeks, we say, okay, we're going to do this. And the process goes on.
It seems like maybe a chat room, do you use the chat room for that? So if I was I'm working on it and it's like, oh, actually, it would be really cool if, and I could just type it into this chat window, that you monitor that so that there's, there are ways for that to happen. I mean, that seems like that might be either a dangerous thing or a good thing. I'm not sure which.
In fact, we have a forum. And we also monitor the chat room. The chat room is very cool. I think users really enjoy it because, and we do too, and I'm going to explain you why. It's because it's very easy to have support there. So that's good for the users. And what's good for us is that some users are naturally helping others, which means it is our support, it's much easier for us to do support because users are starting to do it themselves.
Yeah, I see here, for instance, somebody called Bounty says, do I have to reopen the studio for the VSTs to load? So they're just questions that people are firing off as they're using it, which is a fantastic sort of real-time way of doing it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's really amazing for us also to be able, for example, Fire Slage, the one who answers right now is one of the HomeForce guys.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I think it's very good for the users, very good for us because we can have their reaction and know what frustrates them. And
yeah, that's brilliant. So I mean, you can immediate feedback. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So whereas Nick has used SynPlant in this sequence, I have MIDI data visible, but I don't have anything playing because I don't have SynPlant here, and it's not provided. And that's the rub you were talking about earlier, with it being easier if everybody's got the same plugins.
Ah, I thought I'd frozen it.
Yeah, so you froze it. You froze it, but for now it's not automatically turned on, but we're going to add this feature. For now, what you have to do is to click on the little speaker next, let's say, to the pad on the...
Yep, I got that.
There is a little speaker, and if you press it, you should see the freeze instead of the MIDI data. And so you should be able to play the track.
So I can do that at my end now to receive that audio?
Yeah, if the speaker button exists, it means
It
that someone.
exists, yes.
Yeah, it means that someone has frozen the track.
Ah,
Okay, and then I see,
so now you have it.
indeed I do, and I have the other one as well now, the one that plays in the intro.
Interesting.
So now you can listen to the whole great track.
And now in the
response.
mixer, but still in the mixer, it points out that the syn plant is missing because it shows the little exclamation point in the mixer, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that the mixer being down here. So these are all the individual. Yeah. Cool. How are we getting? Not only are we getting
That's cool.
news of the new, we're getting the kind of power user information. Yeah.
That's cool. Being able to freeze the track across so that you can hear somebody else's plugin when you don't have it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very neat, actually.
That's a nice solution you've arrived at there. That's very good.
And it's going to be improved. But yeah, that's a good thing.
Solution.
Fantastic. This, I mean, we could probably spend all day, all show on this. I just wondered whether anybody
I think
fancied.
we just have.
Yeah, well, pretty much. Whether there was the, I don't think we'll maybe get into the Windows 8 topic yet because that might be a little bit larger than life, or maybe it won't be. I mean, because I guess this we got two developers on the panel, so maybe that is a good idea. I mean, this was the kind of the previews of Windows 8 that have just recently come out, which is kind of, as far as we can tell, more of a a tablet-based system. If I press this, then I can probably play a little bit of this and we can have a listen. Let's see. Yeah, here we go.
Hi, I want to talk to you about Windows 8 and why it worries me. Before we get to the demo, the most important thing that I want you to remember out of this video is that Windows 8 is not Windows. Don't get me wrong, I know it's got plenty of Windows code under the hood, and Microsoft is welcome to name its products whatever it wants to. But the user interface in Windows 8 is so different, and you use it in such different ways, that it's much better to think of it as a completely new operating system that's replacing the old Windows. Now that has some really important implications for the rollout of Windows 8. Over the years, as companies have done new versions of operating systems, they've established some best practices about how do you roll those things out without upsetting your current customers.
I'm not going to go into the details of what's going on with Windows 8, but it seems to have caused a real storm of that post is titled "Fear and Loathing," and whether or not it's suitable for the musician or what, I think is probably neither here nor there at the moment because it's probably too early to tell, to be perfectly honest. But it raises two questions. One is, you're a developer. Presumably, you've got a heads up on this. If it's gone to public beta already, then you guys are probably looking at it and thinking, I mean, does it present any kind of particularly different challenges to you? It looks a bit like Vista to me, but I don't know how much you can say whether you're under any NDAs. But I mean, is there a kind of general feeling that you have about the approach of one of these things? Is it like Doom, or do you think, oh, good, it can do this too, Dave?
Doom. Just all Doom. And if you upgrade immediately after it comes out, you deserve to have grief. That's my attitude with it. I'm sorry, but that's the kind of mood I'm in today. We're still dealing with, Lion stuff, 64-bit stuff, all of this. The last thing I want to worry about right at this moment in time is Windows 8. And that man was quite scary on a number of levels, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you there. I mean, it does have interesting. I mean, there. Aside from because obviously from a Mac point of view, quite often these hooks are built in to the OS. The core MIDI, the core audio. So there are immediate benefits, or potentially immediate benefits, from upgrading your operating system. Assuming that there are some softwares built to take advantage of it. But if you're talking, this really is not an operating system update for people who are using real-time processing in terms of audio and video and any of those things. It's for kind of, as far as we can tell, it's for tablets. Those are the kind of primary changes. And it looks an awful lot like Vista. I mean, Jerome, is there presumably, will your stuff run in this? I mean, do you have kind of issues with that, or is it a whole world of crap that you've got to deal with again?
I've not really looked into. I didn't have put my hands on a version of Windows 8, but from what I've understood, the standard version, the one who runs on Intel computer, still have a huge part of the code base. So I don't I don't have any reason to believe audio software wouldn't work anymore on this. Really, it's hard for me to believe this. However, of course, you've got this version that works on ARM processors for tablets. So that's a whole new story. They're going to cut a big part of the features of the software, which is normal. I mean, you cannot run, like, let's say, live on a tablet.
No. Well, I mean, the whole kind of tablet thing is just it. I mean, it still will have a desktop element to it. I mean, this is the thing that scares me a little bit about this whole thing is it's actually, you know, almost feels like a very cynical move if we simplify the interface to such a degree. I mean, there's a bit of it later on in the in this video. If we simplify it to such a massive degree, then basically we won't have to hire as many tech support people, so we can cut our cost base on producing software. So if you just point at everything with your finger and it's running on a tablet and doesn't do anything, then, you know, then we don't have to support it anymore, and it's just down to the poor developers who've got to figure out how the hell it's all going to work. It just seems very cynical, maybe from that point of view, because content creators do not use tablets to create content on, and musicians don't generally use it either. I mean, unless you're lucky with iPads and you're happy to use Animoog and all of those things. I know, Rich. I mean, you know, historically, I mean, as anybody professionally, whether it's music, video, or if you're in an office situation, you are not just going to upgrade to Windows 8. I mean, why the hell would you? Until you know, X number of iterations, service pack, whatever, and we all know that it's going to be fine.
Well, it might be fun. I don't know if you've been looking around Apple's. Have you used Launchpad much in Lion?
No, I haven't got Lion on anything. I just don't need it.
Okay. So what Windows is doing is not inconsistent with the kinds of actions that Apple has been taking, which should surprise nobody.
Sure.
Given the history of the whole thing. And so what I see as Windows tablet-based interface here, first of all, the guy who did the video, I thought, made a lot of really good points. Why do I get this welcome screen with the time and temperature that I got to push out of the way to log in? And I think that's a pretty good...
When there's loads of... Yeah, in fact, here is that... there is the screen. So you push that out of the way, and then you get that, which has plenty of room for time and temperature and a pretty picture too.
Right.
As far as I can
could
tell.
have done it all in one screen. They chose not to. But these are quibbles, and they might change all that between now and the time we actually see it. But then you get to this very button-like interface, which assumes that you're going to have touch controllers and you'll be leaning forward and pressing that button right there. You know what I mean?
There it is.
And right. Excuse me. And if you look at Apple's Launchpad, which is what they've done in Lion, and they're, shall we say, very likely to further in Mountain Lion, you'll see a very iPad-like interface where you get to group your various apps in various ways, and it basically does what the Finder was always intended to do. It basically gives you a hideable space from which you can launch everything.
Right.
And it basically works like the front page of your iPad
or
your iPhone.
So that's the sort of paradigm they're going for.
And so that's not inconsistent with what Windows is doing here, except they're emulating their own touchpad environment in an attempt to try to move into that world. Now, I'm not necessarily in disagreement with Dave's assessment in terms of my likelihood to predict doom for things, but But what I see them doing makes some sense, because they're already losing market share like crazy, and Windows 7 is actually pretty good, if I may say so.
Yeah, I mean, I use it every day. It's our video editing environment.
Somebody in the chat room was saying Windows 7 is now going to become the next XP, because that's the one everybody will hold on to, because nobody wants to move on to Vista or to 8 or to whatever. And maybe that's true. I don't know. I find it interesting that a big part of this Windows 8 is the ability to click on a button that brings up a window that looks like Windows 3, that shows you the entire, hierarchy and structure of your computer, and you can go in and do all the, there's like this sort of like component of, well, don't worry, because all you have to do is click here and you'll get a window that looks just like the XP you've been running for the last 10 years. Whereas when Apple goes whole hog, when Apple says, I'm giving up on OS 9 and I'm giving you OS 10 now, and it looks like a shopping mall kiosk to us all at the beginning, they didn't keep that many. They did keep OS 9 around for a little bit of time, but it was one or the other. It wasn't a component of OS 10. You couldn't launch it from within OS 10, could you? Yeah, you did.
You could. Rosetta for a little while.
Classic mode. That's right. Yeah, you did. You did. It's interesting the way they keep keeping the old one around.
Yeah, well, it's that bloatware kind of business that we've all kind of suffered from. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, as soon as you start talking OSs, everybody gets really uppity about it. And I've got a theory about this because if you look at this original topic on it's on Synthtopia, there are just tons and tons of really irate people talking about this, and I think essentially what it is because we've all become inadvertently, we just want to use computers to do stuff, right? But in doing so, we've become kind of these IT experts. We've kind of begrudgingly had to become IT experts to use this stuff, to get it to work, to get the music, the whatever, the software and the hardware to talk to you, however, whatever our various path to where we are now, and it works, or maybe it doesn't work. And we really begrudge everything changing just because it is. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why everybody gets upset, because it's like, oh no, some more stuff that's going to mean I'm going to have to go through this whole painful process all over again. That's why, and then people kind of get all
it's creative people versus engineering masturbation is sometimes the way I look at it. This idea that you're nothing unless you have the latest, greatest, super duper thing. Just really, and every single band that I know who makes money out of music, without exception, never ever, is always one revision behind in terms of OS.
At least.
They never ever update immediately. So when we get, and obviously we're in the front line, we're like, I've often likened us to the painters and decorators of the audio world. We're the last one in who has to fix all the stuff that the plasterers have left hanging off the ceiling. Don't worry, they'll fix it. And to a degree, we have to accept that, but which is why my advice is...
Don't upgrade.
Not immediately, you know. We get so many emails. Well, actually, we don't so much now because I have a very similar attitude, I'm afraid. But... with our customers, that's not strictly true, but we do get emails from people going, I've just graded to the latest greatest Billy Goat operating system, and this minuscule little thing is broken in the plugin, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, what did you expect? Anyway, that's
I know, I totally agree, and I think that's probably the difference, isn't it? I mean, I imagine the tech support of most software departments are 99% of their time is used up by people who have upgraded just because they could. Oh, I can get the latest upgrade now, I'll do it, rather than because they needed to.
I made a horrendous mistake today. I had Pro Tools 9 working beautifully on 10.7.3, and I had a customer with a problem with Pro Tools 10.2, so I downloaded 10.2, did the update, and at the same time my Mac came up saying, oh, actually, by the way, it's 10.7.4 and you're nothing if you don't upgrade to 10.7.4. And now I can't get Pro Tools working. Every time I try and launch it, it says there is an error, there is a problem with this. And I've literally wasted 3/4 of a day doing this, and I don't know.
Can I help you with this?
Rich would like to just step in here.
5 minutes?
Please. Yes.
Can I save you the rest of your day?
Yes, please.
Okay, you did two things at the same time, and that's why you're confused. 10.2 won't run, I don't think, without an HDX card. It has nothing to do with 10.7.4. 10.7.4 should support Pro Tools, both 9 and 10.
Well, it's weird, but when I went to the Digi site, it said at the minute they don't recommend that anything's used with 10.7.4.
That's well. There's another part of the website where you can see that they say we don't specifically qualify it, but we haven't found any problems with it either. And I know people who are running it, and I'm running it here.
Yeah, Chris is running it on his system, so
it'll run.
Why?
It will run. It's what you've got is you've got a version of Pro Tools that isn't supported by the card system you're running.
Which is a dongle.
You see now what you need, Dave.
Well, that would mean that it's not. You don't have the card that it's looking for that will make it work.
And it gets to that point in the actually searching stuff.
It looks for hardware and it says
Yeah.
If I what you need, Dave, is a new Mac Pro. Do you see what I'm doing here? This is a stupid, just a beautiful link. This was the other topic I want to talk about because I certainly have been very worried about the lack of updates to the kind of pro end of any desk, not just Macs, but Mac are particular because they have a specific line. So the Mac Pro, we've got one sitting over there. It's running this show. In fact, that's the whole thing's running on it. All 8 cores are probably melting through the floor. And but it's working. But I've had to stick with this. It's I don't know how many years old it is, 2 or 3 years old at least. No, older in fact. But the last time they updated the Mac Pro range was over 2 years ago. And there's rumours now that the Worldwide Developer Conference, which I think is later in June, that they're going to refresh a whole bunch of stuff, including the Mac Pro. Now, I know if you're not a Mac user, you're probably going to go, yeah, whatever. But this sort of stuff is quite critical if you are, and you're trying to figure out how am I going to actually have a system that is going to run this. The
cards I bought.
The cards I bought, yeah, all of that stuff. So at the moment, we're talking about there are several codes, and I think actually because they've been running down the stock levels. It was Mac Rumors phoned up a load of stores, and they only found 5 stores out of 100 that actually still had Mac Pro stock, which is kind of standard stuff. They run down the store, run down the stock, and then they're apparently training days booked in. So we're looking like there might actually be some new Mac Pros coming, and I always gauge it because we've got a big Apple store in Bath, and the last few times I've been there, I haven't seen anything apart from iPads, iMacs, and MacBook Airs. There's just no Mac Pros in there at all. And I was even thinking, well, if I buy a new machine, is it going to even be? I should just get an iMac and not mess around. But it looks like these things are going to be coming. Does that make you happy, Rich? I mean, or I guess you're going to want to know. What do you want the Mac Pro to have? I'm guessing PCIe slots, right? At the very least.
Well, that would certainly support the card I bought 6 months ago
Yeah.
that I haven't been able to use yet. So, yeah, that'd be a nice thing. But if it doesn't, you know what? There's a brand new Magma box of air that I could spend too much money on.
Oh, yeah, we talked about the
that'll be working shortly, and I could just buy myself an iMac and hook up the Magma box of air and stuff my card in it. And for another $1,000 off I go. But what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the day that the software I want to run works on it so that I can try the card that I bought 6 months ago that doesn't run in my current computer to see if it's going to work and finally send back the old cards and trade that I...
This is the thing, the Thunderbolt. I mean, I guess this links a little bit to the previous topic. I mean, but as more related to OS X, because what tends to happen when they bring out the latest, greatest hardware revisions is, I'm sorry, these computers will no longer run anything other than the absolute latest OS. So then you're into a whole world of pain.
Yeah, but I'm the exception to Dave's little rule there. I run as recent an operating system as I can get away with running the software I'm running in its most recent version, and I'm constantly keeping forward, and I'm the other guy, the guy who's not in that paradigm, who's running. No, I'm not stupid either, I don't think, most days. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm a little stupid. But mostly I'm not stupid, and so I don't try to run things in operating systems they were never written to run in. So if they put out a new operating system and my old software doesn't run in it, I'm not surprised because the people who wrote that software didn't have this operating system to write it in. So I don't tend to get as emotional about these things.
Jerome, you've been very calm here. What do you develop on? I mean, do you develop on kind of cheap, powerful PCs and then port over, or I mean, what do you need to what kind of hardware do you need to run your stuff?
Well, we have to we try to be compatible with a reasonable range of operating systems. So choice for at the moment is to try to be able to run on XP, Vista, Windows 7, maybe Windows 8 if, with a big if, we don't know yet, but it should work. And as far as OS X is concerned, we run from 10.5 to 10.7.
Wow. So you're supporting XP, which is what? How many years old is that now? 12 years?
It's pretty old, but we have made some research, and a big part of our users are still on XP. So
wow.
although it's getting down at the moment, but still.
But in terms of hardware, I mean, will you be kind of thinking, well, yeah, we'll have to get one of these to make sure our stuff runs on it, or you just kind of you need to upgrade your development machines because they're getting kind of old and have been hammered for the last 2 years?
Yeah, what we do is try to always run on and develop on not the last, but just before version of the hardware. For example, right now we run OS X 10.6 as our development platform.
Yeah.
So it's not the very last one, and we are just in the middle. Usually Apple does things correctly, and when you're just one version apart, it works okay.
And also, it's cheaper to buy, isn't it? Because you're not paying for the cutting edge stuff. You get the end of range of the last really good one before the next one comes out. That's what I tend to do as well.
In fact, it's just like musician. I mean, when you upgrade, you have to upgrade particularly with Apple, you have to upgrade your developing environment, and that's a big thing. It's always scary. I mean, you have your habits, you have all your software suite running on it, the way all our tests, everything. So we are very conservative with that.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really good way to go, to be honest. I mean, I think we run 10.7.3 here, I think, on our stuff. I can't remember now, and I'm not about to start checking on the machine while it's actually running the show, because I know what will happen.
Anyway, I think we have, though, to check things with Mountain Lion, because they've added a lot of technologies to secure the user. They are sandboxing the application and things like that. So we're going to have to take this, because it probably have a big consequence.
Yeah, permissions is going to make a big difference, right?
Yeah, this one is going to be big, very probably.
Right.
Gatekeeper.
Yeah, gatekeeper.
Also known as prison officer. Or
the bitter words of experience there. Yeah.
Yeah, but ask me if I'm going to get a new Mac Pro, and I'll go, yes!
And what operating system is it going to run?
Yeah. Oh, OS 9.
Yeah. If only.
No. I mean, I like the idea. Thunderbolt and USB 3. Da-da-da.
Yeah.
Cool.
Somebody was just suggesting that the new Macs will only run Mountain Lion and forward. That would be interesting.
I'm
What's also interesting is, so all that if this is to be true, if this is to be believed, and we are getting new Mac Pros, all that speculation and hot air on, they've discontinued them, it's the end of the world.
Right here, that's me. I'm that guy. Yeah, but
all going to be solved with the box of air.
Well, and apparently they're talking that it's going to be rackable and stackable. There'll be a different form factor, and that one's going to be a server. I mean, it would be interesting to see. I mean, they are going to be refreshing other parts of the range too, apparently. And the one thing I would like to see is, on a MacBook certainly, or a MacBook Pro, just ditch the DVD drive and let's have some more bloody USB ports, for God's sake. 2 is not enough on a $2,000 machine. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to switch to my this project, which has been beautifully edited, no doubt, by a bunch of people. Although randomly, it might actually not provide us with anything decent on the playout. So what I'm going to do is, before I start the playout, I'm going to say goodbye to our guests here, and we'll start with Rich Hilton over there in Connecticut. Thank you very much for joining us. I guess you're going to have to go and pack. Do you have to pack specifically for Manchester, or is it just your general packing?
Well, let's just say that when you're going on stage in Manchester in 55 degrees and raining, the weather's you're probably going to wear different clothes than you wore in Curacao when it was 90 degrees and humid.
So scarf, gloves, vest, long johns.
Oh, absolutely, full winter parka. I'll have the full gear on. No. I'll wear a suit. But I actually like. I see, because I'm wearing a suit, I actually like when it's cool out. Pretty much the entire rest of the band is freezing their butts off, and I grew up playing hockey outside, so I'm like quite fine outside in 40 degrees, 50 degrees with a suit on and playing music.
Yeah,
my whole adrenaline level's keeping my body warm.
Yeah,
I actually quite like it.
Nice. Well, good luck and have a good trip. Thank you very much for joining us, Rich. Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Dave Spears over there, GeForce Software at Curmudgeonly Central. Yes. Thank you very much for joining us. And good luck with all of that. I mean, it sounds like a bit of a nightmare, but hopefully some of what Rich imparted about Pro Tools will help you through the pain of your recent issues.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you very thank you very much for joining us, Dave. And finally, to Jerome Noel, thank you very much for joining us this week as well. And be more than happy to have you as another guest. I think you've passed the test. You are the panel has approved, and you've been very helpful. And thanks for speaking so honestly about the development of this software. And really, the best of luck with it, because I'm really into the idea. I think what we might do is I'm going to. I don't know if I can I make this project public and just kind of let anybody else get to it?
You can.
Can I give it a keyword or something so if somebody search for Sonic State, they'll be able to find it?
Yeah, you can put that in the comments. If you just leave your project with like comment W, just leave the project, you'll go back to the main screen and you can edit, you can add comments and everything.
Right, I'm going to do that. So if anyone wants to have a go at this, feel free. Remember, it's all all the publishing is mine, though, of course.
Of course.
But anyway, thank you very much, Jerome. And I'm going to switch now to the... well, this is what we've been working on, or what I started off this morning. I don't know where it's come to now. I noticed there's been some frantic editing while I've been doing the outro, so maybe it'll turn into something beautiful. Let's see what it's going to sound like. Ready? We'll see. So this is Sonic Talk number 270, signing out with our collaborative session from using OHMSTUDIO.